and welcome back. It's been a little bit of time since the last video, but as other people have commented before me, and surely others will after me, making things from scratch takes a very long time. So I've been annoying the neighbours by coming home every evening and hammering away for half an hour and getting a bit more time during the weekends. But now, well, you'll see where we got to, and hopefully there will be another video up a little bit sooner than this one. Okay, so next phase of the project is the inserting the first rivet to hold the handguard in shape. As you can see, it's currently holding a certain amount of shape on the top of it here. It's about what I want in general shape. A little bit more shaping, but that's the rough curve I want. So first things first, drill a hole. But not with that bit. Okay, so appropriate size bit. Or don't do it like that. Okay, let's try that again with another drill bit, slightly larger. Hopefully it shouldn't matter too much for what I'm doing. I'm going to have to get some more drill bits now, but for today this will do. So drill bit. Next, one clamp now. I also need to get a more suitable pair of side cutters, because these are really not man enough for the task and they're going quite blunt on me. So one rivet, in place. Now, if I can do this and still be in shot, just move it a little bit. And now probably the camera is going to fall over. So at the moment the end has been cut by the side cutters is a sharp V shape. It's not really ideal. What we want is to bring it into something of a point rather than a V cut across it. It allows it to, in theory, spread more evenly. If it's a V, then it tends to spread two-dimensionally instead of into a circle. But in reality, it's not always possible, depending on where you're aiming. And this one undoubtedly is going to go very, very badly. So, put it in place. Just a couple of taps to get it started, and then to mushroom out the top. And doesn't really need it, but I'll just finish off with the peen end of the hammer. Okay, done one rivet, and that's now ready for a little more shaping. Now, I don't have, as Tony pointed out, a sandbag, which actually would be an excellent idea, and I have meant to get one in the past, but I'd overlooked it, so back on my buy list. Now, I could do it on something slightly softer like this cloth, but it doesn't really work. Doesn't provide enough support. So look away now, anyone of a sensitive disposition, because my vise is coming in for a bit more love and attention. And just gonna work a little bit more on the shape. Okay, starting to come a bit closer to what I want. Each of those hits is starting to spread the metal out, and as a result, as it does so, creates the curve that I'm looking for. It also creates a hammered finish, funnily enough, which is also perfectly fine for the application, and in fact most of this will be hidden, so it doesn't really matter too much, and you won't really see it too much on the inside either. Well, it's coming along. We'll need a little more tweaking, and this has got quite bent. Along here, so it's a question of hammering, checking, back on the bike, making sure it all still fits, and then a bit more hammering. So I'll carry on with that. Okay, so having cut some strips of metal, 30 centimeters, 30 millimeters wide, 3 centimeters, I decided I will use this bit first off. So I marked up where I wanted them to be, or at least sort of guesstimate where I want to start. So I'm going to put this piece here so that it just starts to cover the edge, and then I'll have a second piece there. I had thought about having very small strips and doing them individually, and that probably would have worked quite nicely, but sticking with the style I've already got on the fly screen, it's about strips, so I'm going to start it from here. So it's really the same process. I want to get the rivet quite close to the edge here. If I can find my pen. There we go. Because the next plate will overlap it just enough to hide the rivets. Obviously I want enough strength for the plate to hold on. Now it's just a bit of a guesstimate on this, obviously this edge here, as to be close enough to the edge and not actually fall off the edge of this. So that will do me. Now remember where I had it. Line it up so it just covers there. Looks about right. Try not to break this drill bit. Okay, so same process as before. One clout now, one slightly blunt pair of side cutters. So now we have one rivet. And one plate. And so we continue. So onto there. Attempt to get some degree of point to it. Try and hold it roughly in the right place, but I can move it in a moment anyway. It's relatively straightforward on a flat piece. Struggle when you start to get to the sharper edges and to get rivets in down here, because I can't put them on here and I don't really have a suitable tool, so I might be improvising at that point. And just to make sure it actually is a little bit flatter. And there we have it. It's the first plate partly riveted in place. You can see that I'm going to have issues with overlapping rivets here. Just adds to the fun. It's getting hot. This one's not going quite so to plan. Okay, and then trim off the excess. And that's the first plate on. That rather rough bit. So first plate on. Probably not all that visible in the light here. So then it's a question of the next plate. Now, because these have been cut with the tin snips, it's quite a rough edge, and so one edge typically is a bit smoother than the other, because if you cut on the other end it's serrated, whereas the serrated edge is more this side. So I'm going to have that as my dress edge, as it were. So here, so this one, where do I want to go with this? Do I want a single piece all the way around? Could do, just to make life a challenge. If I was a little bit more careful of the metal, I probably wouldn't do it in one piece, but use up some scraps, because that tiny little corner there, I could just use a small piece that I've cut off and rivet through it. And yeah, so rivet, that's right where I want to put it, so I need to be a little bit careful. Come a bit closer in than I would have done to this edge. Up again. It's a relatively tedious process, but ow! Ooh, that one got me. Oh well, first blood for the project. And overlapping rivets. Should have cut that nail a little bit longer, given the fact it's overlapping. Should have made it just a little bit longer. It would have given me a bit of an extra, a little bit more metal here to push over. It's not exactly mission critical, it's only a tiny little piece of metal it's holding on though, so there's no real structural strength to it. Beginning to think that I shouldn't have done that. Didn't need to go all the way over there. But yeah, probably didn't waste the time. Never mind. It's all good. So I want this. That there. Pissing blood now. Excuse me for a minute while I bleed all over the workshop. Right, let's punch up this one without stabbing myself with it. Okay, it's only going through 2 layers of metal without having to overlap a rivet. That was going through 3 layers, so it doesn't need to be quite so long. Success, no more blood. Yeah, I'm really not too good at this. Bring it to a point malarkey. Okay, yeah, that didn't really work. So I need to cut that off. I guess I can let it overlap and then cover it with the next piece. But okay, so that's what's happening. So the next, there's way too much bright light from my lights there. So the next piece will band on across there, like so, and although in more than one piece, and we'll take it from there. rivets through 3 layers, so a slightly longer rivet. Fortunately, the edges of these nails have little ridges down them, which make a nice little measuring tool as to where to cut them. All of these are quite sticking up at the moment, so they'll require a bit of shaping. So I'm just going to rivet this last one on, and there will be a slight change of tack in what we're doing, because I've reached the limit of almost of where we are with this. I'll explain in a moment. Now this example is what happens if you hit it too much first before mushrooming. What's happened is the shaft of this rivet has shortened and it's mushroomed between the 2 layers, so which is not ideal. Fortunately, a bit of brute force will overcome it as far as I'm concerned. But far from an ideal piece of riveting. Now, let's flatten it down a fair bit. Got quite a big gap here at the moment. I'm not sure how visible that really is on there, but that's sticking up quite a bit, so not anymore. As I said before, this is quite thin steel, it's very easy to shape. Now, what I was saying before is that these rows running across here are now starting to counter. In fact, I've just covered one of the holes that actually will mount on the bar. So the bar will mount across here, as it were, across here like this. So now we have this curving down into it, which means that I've gone as far as I need to over here, and all it will need is one last strip of metal across here, approximately, and then there will be a final piece of metal that will run, I'll put it this way for visibility, across the middle like so. And then I'll re-drill those holes through here, and that'll be pretty much it for the shaping. I still need to curve the bottom half. I've left it relatively flat so that I can get these rivets in a little bit easier without having it double curve. It's a fiddly enough job getting support onto these rivets in this sort of deep curve here. I guess you could do it flat actually, and then shape it with this really thin steel with the rivets in, with the actual panels riveted in place. That would work. No reason why you couldn't. Probably a damn sight easier too, and something to think about for the next piece I make. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with this, and I'll come back to you later. Okay, so I've done most of the plating to the handguard. I'm just in the process now of bending in the lower part, but just at the moment I need to do a little bit more hammering because there's a kink up in here that isn't lying flat, and you can see that's all sticking up. So I'm going to just hammer that out into a round, and then rivet this lower part together. Those of a mechanically sensitive disposition should probably look away now. Right, and just that simple bit of hammering has improved that quite considerably, but of course the trouble is now it needs to be, still needs to be curved around, so probably about there I reckon we'll do it. And that again brings it up into a point. So in fact it probably wants to go quite a bit further around than that. That's probably about where I want to be. There we go, that's better. So just I need to decide where I want it, and then I'll rivet. Okay, so they're pretty much done. A little bit of fettling to do with them. Test fitted with the aid of a hammer. so that was all gone. So a bit of fettling,